afternoon. Welcome to the Trinity Thesis of 2015. Our first speaker is SNakamura, but before she comes up, I would just like to welcome and introduce our judging panel to you today. So first we have Ms. Karen Shima. She has over 20 years experience in teaching and is a certified trainer for the Institute of Excellence in Writing, and she is currently the writing teacher at our secondary school. We also have Vicki Leong, our 4th grade teacher in Trinity, who has a background as a public school teacher, a homeschool parent, and has also served as an English teacher to college students in Southeast Asia. We have Sherry Firth, who has been our art specialist at Trinity for the past 12 years, and who is also the chair of our very elegant annual Fine Arts Evening. We have Jessica Palmer, our 5th grade teacher at Trinity, who is also married to a local pastor in Kailua. And finally, we have Judy Fujimoto. She is an RN who retired after 20 years at Queens Medical Center and is currently working at Castle. And she has had 2 grandchildren graduate from Trinity and has been judging state debate tournaments for the last 4 years. So we are very pleased to have our judging panel here today. And I would now like to introduce to you SNakamura on the topic, Be Yourself, Everyone Else is Taken, the Pressure of Changing Beauty Standards.
Be yourself, everyone else is taken. A quote by Oscar Wilde states the exact mindset of how everyone should personally think, but do not. Consequently, this leads to 42% of elementary school girls that wish they were thinner, and 1 out of 10 students in high school having an eating disorder such as anorexia or bulimia. Women and young girls especially are struggling today with society's idea of beauty and what it means to be beautiful. A study conducted worldwide found that 4 out of 10 women around the world do not feel comfortable when describing themselves as beautiful. Every day, girls and women are told they need to fit a certain standard in order to be accepted. They are not told they directly need to change, but going through everyday life, the desire to be perfect is more apparent in subtle ways, such as the calorie amounts on the menu or the one-size-fits-all when shopping. Now at this point, you must all be thinking, I've heard this all before. Let me tell you why I feel the ideal of beauty is a topic that should be challenged. I grew up in China and had to deal with Chinese women not holding back and expressing their opinions on my level of attractiveness. By going back and forth between China and the US, I felt the pressure to conform every time I arrived and found a new style or trend that was popular in just these 2 places. These experiences made me think more about how to view the ideals of beauty and ways not to let other standards affect others, including myself. Looking back, I'm able to realize in every culture, the standard of beauty is different for women. Beauty ideals are always changing. We're never able to fit a certain standard a certain area of the world has for us. Because we cannot change the culturally diverse ideals of beauty, we should change our own thinking of beauty as individuals. Throughout history, women have always had the desire to look beautiful. But in today's culture, the desire is more apparent and beauty has become an obsession for women to achieve. The standard of pressure fitting a certain standard has followed each generation of women, but because of the changing times and standards, the pressure is rising. Historically, the United States has had one of the most evolutionary change in standards of beauty for women. From the 1900s to the 1920s, the standard changed from the Gibson girls who had wide hips and narrow waists to the flapper ideal woman who became known during the Roaring '20s. To illustrate, the flapper was young and immature, and thinness was also a trend during this time period. During the 1930s to 1940s, in World War II, women wanted to achieve the not too skinny look. Celebrities of that age had an image that was in reach of the average woman. After the war in the 1950s, Marilyn Monroe type bodies became popular. But then again in the 1960s to the 1970s, then again became a standard that was considered beautiful, and anorexia became a mainstream trend. Specifically, the natural look became popular among society. Moving to the 1980s to the 1990s, fitness became a new norm, modeled by the bony supermodels of the era. At this time, the brand Calvin Klein became the epitome of the look, featuring advertisements showing models who achieve this ideal. Currently in the United States, the standard varies from being thin, plus size, and in between. A woman could have any colored hair and still be considered someone's idea of what is beautiful. There is no universal standard because every culture, state, county, or town will have their own idea of what they consider beautiful. Currently, they receive their ideas from seeing historically what the standard is or was, or take some aspects from different cultures and put them all together. L.A.U. Saraswati, an associate professor at UH Manoa, states that thin is still the dominant trend and can be seen throughout history. It will not change because we cannot change the past. Any woman has a desire or need to look beautiful. A social comparison theory states that people use social standards and others to evaluate themselves. So when there is a certain standard that is popular, women feel pressure to conform and achieve whatever the ideal is. They want to conform to the norm of society, but then end up comparing themselves to what they see in media or in popular culture. The pressure of fitting a certain standard had to originate from somewhere. An author, Naomi Wolf, writes a nonfiction book about how when women gain social power and prominence, physical beauty standards become an expected adherence and have grown stronger. The daily presence of billboards, magazines, television ads, and social media all contribute to the pressure of being a certain standard in order to be considered beautiful. Starting at a young age, girls are able to view themselves in a positive or negative way than in previous years. At the age of 2, infants are able to recognize themselves in a mirror, and girls are able to like or dislike what they see only a few years later. There are 3 factors that cause unrealistic and burdensome beauty standards to exist in girls today. Environmental toxins is the first factor, which is causing in early puberty in girls, resulting in increased risk of anxiety and depression, and therefore leading to dissatisfaction with themselves. Following that is the cyberbubble, which is the usage of Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or the many messaging apps that cause girls to disconnect from themselves while digitally connecting to others. Lastly is the sexual identity in young girls who are trying to look sexy at younger ages than seen in previous generations. Starting with the first factor that causes unrealistic and burdensome beauty standards to exist in girls today is environmental toxins. The food that girls eat, the food packaging that is employed, or the beauty products they are using, all can be contributing to an early puberty in girls by causing them to view themselves in a different way. American biologist, author, and cancer survivor Sandra Strang-Ever analyzes the existing data on early puberty in girls and states that agrees that there are certain chemicals that are related to it. She also has done research and that shows that girls have more anxiety, negative self-image, and suicide attempts as a result of early puberty. Natural synthetic hormones that help growth in livestock, polycarbonate plastics that line cans and baby bottles, all can contribute to an early puberty in girls. Consequently, polycarbonate plastics have been banned in many U.S. cities and states, along with Canada. This theory also has been tested on rodents, and the results show that exposure to bisphenol A, or BPA, showed in earlier onset of sexual maturation. This information is limited and has not been able to be proven on humans, but can be a very possible factor. The research can give an idea of what might be causing early puberty in girls, and therefore causing themselves to view themselves differently. Early puberty affects young girls in significant ways, and Leonard Sachs, an MD and PhD in psychology, states that there's reasons that girls who enter puberty earlier have more challenges than girls who enter an averagely normal rate. They have the risk of developing eating disorders, being sexually victimized as teenagers, abusing drugs and alcohol, doing worse in school than their peers, or suffering from anxiety and depression, not only as teenagers, but as adults. Also, he affirms there are social reasons that cause certain pressure to young girls. And also he affirms that there are close links between overweight girls and early puberty who find it hard to fit the standard that they're in the current culture which they are raised. The second factor is the desire bubble, which is where girls can post things about themselves or others publicly on the internet. In the past, if someone wanted to go play with their friend, they would have to make a phone call to their friend's house and ask the parents if they could talk to their friend, and then ask if they wanted to go play outside, or not even call them, just walk over to their friend's house. Now all one has to do is get out their phone and text whoever they want if they want to do something, or not even go anywhere at all, just sit and text for hours about nothing. Today, the numerous amounts of social media affects how girls are viewing their bodies. When they look at social media, they get lower self-esteem because of the images others are posting. Girls create online identities to impress others, especially their peers. A study done by psychologists Mirka Tigerman and Amy Slater named Net Tweens, the Internet and Body Image Concerns in Pre-Teenage Girls, was done with girls aged 10 to 12 to examine how media exposure and body image were related, with a particular focus on the internet. They predicted that girls who spent more time on the internet had more concerns with body image. After they tested their hypothesis, the results show that different forms of media corresponded to various aspects of body image concerns. The effects of the internet, body surveillance, body esteem, and dieting were found to be largely mediated by the internalization of the thin ideal. Social media apps like Instagram promote self-worth based on what you look like and how many likes one receives. Popularity appears to come from the images others are posting. To show off one's fitness and attractiveness of their bodies gives the impression that one's whole life is that way. Another app called Tinder lets people meet up with others just based on their appearance, not anything regarding personality or type of person they are. The third and final factor is that girls are trying more than previous generations to look sexy, which means to be desired or looked at younger ages. Without making hasty generalizations, there is an increasing trend on how children are behaving different socially than seen in previous years. Before all the new technology, such as iPods or laptops, children could remain children longer. They would go outside more often instead of sit inside and text their friends or play games on their devices. Children do not think as obsessively about what others thought of them. They're just thinking about how much fun they're having. Young girls today are now extremely concerned with what others think of them. The clothing selections at stores pressure what girls should wear by selling clothes and styles that are meant for more older and mature girls, not what children ages 8 and under should be wearing. In a detailed study by the American Psychological Association on the sexualization of American girls was done with girls aged 10 to they came to a conclusion that girls were being pushed to wear sexy clothes at ages 9 to 10 before they have any sexuality to express. 2 years ago, a woman from Australia criticized Target for selling clothes and styles that were not meant for 7-year-olds but are for 14-year-olds. Also, she stated she looked to find shorts but only found some that were too short. Another woman stated that she looked to find affordable clothes that were appropriate, saying you really have to trawl through the racks to find anything that's not trampy. Girls are presenting themselves more sexual at younger ages, says Sachs. He states that sexualization is good, but sexuality is good, but sexualization is bad. He describes sexuality as a normal part of being human and a healthy part of becoming an adult. He describes sexualization as being an object for the pleasure of others. In the Bible, the book Song of Songs, Solomon the author describes the beauty of his beloved and also talks about romantic love and about waiting until you find love for marriage. As verse 2:7 says, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. The American culture is moving away from this idea and towards the new idea that sexualization is promiscuity, defined as including or involving too many people, not limited in a careful or proper way, which is wanting to use it for yourself and trying to use sex for your own gain. Girls should have the chance to be children instead of being pushed to become women at earlier ages. Let them be children as long as the appropriate time should be and not push them to be women at younger ages. An objection to my argument would be attacked by stating, even if you eliminate all these three causes, beauty standards would still exist. Awareness and knowledge would be a better solution because girls should know the implications of their actions and what they're doing. By doing so, it'll give empowerment to young girls to be able to deal maturely with the challenges they will eventually face from beauty standards. Adults can help deal with children now by giving them the tools to help battle the pressure that they will eventually face when they grow up. Roald Dahl once said, if a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show in the face. And when a person has ugly thoughts every day, every week of every year, the face is uglier and uglier, until you can hardly bear to look at it. This quote captures the exact mindset that needs to change. Society wants you to accept a standard that is never perfect. When you realistically look at yourself and others, the standard can never be met. Our lives have been dominated in overemphasizing the three beauty standards and the three reasons why they exist. As I have shown in the compromatio, environmental toxins, the cyber bubble, and sexual identity all contribute to this problem, while we can do nothing to change them, and even if they were gone, beauty standards would still exist. Censorship is not the answer. We should use our knowledge to give discernment to others around us. We need to prevent the next generation of girls from thinking they need to follow the constantly changing and unobtainable standards set in place for them. You may think this generation needs to change its ideals, but think 5 or 10 years from now when the standards of ideals have changed again. I'm not asking for a global change in society, but for every individual to simply remember they should not feel less attractive because they can never fit a certain standard set by humans. The focus should not be on others' acceptance of you, but on your view of yourself. And then we can change our own thinking and mindset going forward. Here is the second half of the Roald Dahl quote, which perfectly sums up the idea I am trying to communicate. A person who has good thoughts can never be ugly. You would have a wonky nose, a crooked mouth, a double chin, or stick-out teeth, but if you have good thoughts, it'll shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely.